One of the biggest traps we fall into in life is believing that we are completely alone in our situation. We think that out of 8 billion people in the world, no one else is going through what we are going through. And this belief is actually one of the biggest reasons people struggle to solve their problems. Because when you believe your situation is completely unique, you also start believing that your problems are unsolvable, or that something is wrong specifically with you. But the truth is very different. You are not alone in whatever situation you are in. And let me clarify what I mean by that. When I say you are not alone, I am not talking about anything spiritual or supernatural. I'm not saying that God is guiding you or that the universe is sending you signs or that some magical force is protecting you. That kind of thinking can sometimes help people emotionally in the short term, especially during very difficult times. But what I am talking about here is something more practical and grounded in reality. There are more than 8 billion people on Earth, and I can tell you with confidence that no matter what situation you are in, there are at least thousands of people facing something very similar. Maybe even tens of thousands. And in many cases, there are people who are going through even worse situations than yours. Of course, your exact situation is unique to you. Your background, your personal history, your emotions, these are all unique. But the core problems you are facing are usually not unique at all. And this distinction is very important. The biggest problem we have when we face difficulties is that we make them too personal. We start believing that our situation is special, that our failure is special, or that our struggle is something only we are experiencing. But as soon as we understand that there are many other people going through the same thing, something changes in our mindset. It becomes easier to handle the situation emotionally, and more importantly, it becomes easier to find solutions. Let's talk about real examples. Take layoffs or job searching. When someone gets rejected multiple times, the natural reaction is to think, I am unlucky, or everyone else is doing better than me, or even maybe I'm not just good enough. Some people even go further and start thinking they are useless or not talented enough to succeed. That kind of thinking is extremely damaging, not because it is true, but because it isolates you mentally. But the reality is very different. Around the world, there are thousands of highly skilled and intelligent people getting laid off every day. There are people with degrees, experience, and talent who still struggle to find jobs. This is not something that only happens to you. It is part of how the world works. And when you realize that, it does not remove the difficulty of the situation, but it removes the emotional weight of thinking you are the only one. That shift alone can help you move forward instead of mentally breaking down. The same applies when you are trying to build something, like starting a business, launching a startup, or growing a YouTube channel. You put in effort, you try again and again, and nothing seems to work. And slowly you start thinking, maybe I am just not cut out for this. But again, you are not alone in this. If you search online on platforms like YouTube or Quora, you will find thousands of people asking the same questions. People struggling with the same problems. People who tried, failed, and are still trying again. In fact, there are millions of people going through the same journey at different stages. Another common trap appears when people follow so-called gurus or online influencers who promise unrealistic results. You see videos saying things like, make $1 million in 1 year, or build passive income in a few weeks. And then when it doesn't work for you, you start thinking something is wrong with you. You think, I followed the advice, but I still didn't succeed, so maybe I am the problem. But that is not necessarily true. There are many factors involved in success: timing, market conditions, competition, experience, resources, and even luck. So if something doesn't work out the way a video promised, it does not automatically mean you failed. It simply means reality is more complex than the simplified version you were shown. The same psychological trap happens when people come up with ideas. You might think you've had a unique idea, something no one has thought of before, and that feeling can be exciting. But later you realize that many other people have already tried something similar, and many of them have failed. And that is not because you are not smart enough. It is because most ideas are not truly original in a world of 8 billion people. Almost everything has already been thought of in some form. This realization is not meant to discourage you. It is meant to ground you in reality and help you think more clearly. So here is a simple but powerful piece of advice. No matter how difficult your situation feels right now, start searching for it. Look it up on YouTube, read discussions on Quora, talk to friends, ask people. You will almost always find that other people have experienced something very similar. And just that realization alone can reduce a huge amount of mental pressure. This is also one of the reasons why reading books is so important. Reading books is not only about learning new information, it is also about hearing the experiences of other people, often people who have already gone through similar struggles, made mistakes, and found solutions. In a way, books are compressed human experience. They allow you to learn from people you will never meet. And even if you do not find an exact solution to your problem, there is still value in knowing that others have struggled in similar ways. That alone can be comforting and stabilizing, because one of the worst feelings in life is believing that you are alone in your struggle. And the truth is, in most cases, you are not. So instead of turning your problems inward and making them personal attacks on yourself, try to zoom out, see the bigger picture, understand that your situation is part of a much larger human experience. And once you do that, problems do not necessarily disappear, but they become easier to face, easier to understand, and much easier to solve.